so much stuff that,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, most of my questions are answered.
I had a conversation with a brother the other day. And I'm trying to remember what our conversation was about. But I promised him I would bring forward this information. And it's going to come to me probably later, at a later time, because this information was strong. It was good. And I can't remember. So if don't nobody have any more questions, then we'll start reading and we'll just start breaking down some things.
Okay. You want me to stay live?
Yeah, you can. Do we have anybody in the room participating?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then let's get the people something that they might want to hear about. What do you think would be a very good topic? Ask somebody what's a topic that they would like for us to talk about. And we'll search through the scriptures and we'll jump on the topic. This is how we do things when the Spirit guides you.
Oh, he says he loves the Q&A with us, and he just recently put the New Testament down.
Whoa, strong move. What's his name?
Taura Naftali.
I wonder why he put the New Testament down. But that's cool, because you ask him to stay in touch with me, and we will definitely keep him up on things.
Okay. So, brother, you can inbox him. You can stay tuned and watch him, but you can also inbox him and get more information, and he'll definitely stay in connection with you.
I think I know what a good topic is, Prince.
What's that?
The Exodus. Because a lot of our people still believing in this rapture.
Explain to me what you mean.
Well, under my understanding, the Most High is going to gather his people, and we're going to go to the wilderness to be tried. We have a lot of people that's with this rapture just thinking they're going to get called up into heaven somewhere. And
People still believe in that?
yeah. Just going to get called up, and planes are going to crash, and
I thought that
buses
played
are
out.
going to be. They still believe that some power is just going to take everybody away and then leave people on Earth, and it's just crazy. That's why I said I think that'd be a good topic that we could touch on, because there's a lot of people that really believe that.
But that's a Christian doctrine.
Yeah, but I mean, some people, you know how we still have some of our people that believe in Yeshua. Some of those same people, when you come into Israel, some people still bring in what they had from other doctrines and try to bring it into Israel.
Okay.
And I was thinking the rapture might be one of those things, because it's like some Israelites that say they still believe in Yeshua, they still believe in the cross, they still believe in the blood.
There's nothing we can do about that, though.
Okay.
My only thing is, when you leave the church, leave the church. Leave the teachings of the church, the philosophy of the church, and definitely leave their God alone.
That's what I said.
Start from scratch.
It's a process.
Hmm?
It is a process.
Cold turkey.
That's
Just
what
leave
I
it
did.
alone.
That's
Cold
what I
turkey,
did.
just cut it. When you realize something is no good for you no more, it's best that you just leave it alone, period.
Mm-hmm.
Stop dragging your feet trying to bring it along with you. No, you have to leave it alone. And if you leave it alone, chances are the Most High will open up your mind. You have to be sincere with it.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are He'll open up your mind and take you and elevate you where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Well, I forgot. I did have a question. I mean, do you want to read, or?
Do I want to read? No, I want to do whatever needs to be done.
So, I know we had a long conversation about, you have a lot of Israelites who feel like if a person, for lack of a better term, is a seer, or, has visions, like through either the dream state or even just in the meditative state or the woke state, that is low tov, not good. So, I know you have a lot of people who, if they possess any of this, they hide it, or they shield it, or bury it, because they're told, that's just wrong. And basically, you know, that the Most High does not look kind upon a person who, you know what I mean, who has that ability.
What's the question?
Yeah, so my question is like, how do you see that? Like, if a person says to you, you know, I dreamt of something and then this happened, and it's not something small, like, you know, I dreamt I was going to get a cup of water tomorrow and I got a cup of water, but I mean something that's significant that, and then it happens, and it may not happen as soon as they dream it, but it happens, and it just starts to show them that the Most High is like, kind of like showing them different things. But some people say that's not the Most High, that's witchcraft, or, you know.
Well, if you find yourself with that ability, make sure you inbox me and let me know what's up. Because, see, what we got to remember is that these are the days when the Most High are bringing His people back into their fullness.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture says in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, I think it's around 24th, 25th verse, he speaks about the king should go into captivity with you. When he sent us into captivity, he said that the king should go with us. That means that king's lineage, his bloodline, runs through certain individuals' veins, you know, in the land of our captivity. So if this is true, and if you accept this to be a fact,
Mm-hmm.
don't think that the king's bloodline was the only one.
Right.
The prophets,
Right.
the priests. See, when a brother says he's a priest today, I don't argue with him.
Right.
If you say you're a priest, so be it. I'm not going to argue with you. If a brother or sister says she's a prophetess today, I don't argue with them. I would love to see what they prophesy of,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to prove them. Now, I'm not doing that to prove you wrong. I'm going to do that to prove that you have that ability, because I know that it exists. I know that it's real. And I can see where the Father would be linking His people back together again. You know? I can see that. Tying that connection full circle,
Mm-hmm.
bringing us back together again. Everybody ain't going to have all the money that we're going to need to do these things. Everybody ain't going to have all that.
Right.
So that one person with all the money, or two people or three people with all the money, going to be present. Then we're going to have a king. He's going to be present. Then we're going to have a priest, a priesthood. They're going to be present. The prophets, they're going to be present. All these things is going to have to be.
Okay.
But it don't mean that they all going to have to be in one location.
Right.
It's just that they all going to have to be known throughout the earth, that this is who we are and what we do. Fix your thing, please.
Yes.
It's going to be known throughout the earth that this is what we do in wherever we at or whatever houses we're in. You see?
Okay. Sister has a question. Sister Etia says, her question is, okay, I'll just read her statement because it all ties in. She says, praise the Most High, Torah, Shabbat Shalom. A lot of non-believers I speak to think the keeping of Torah is a burden and can't be done, or they are under a new covenant. But I know that's untrue. In Psalms, it says, those who keep it are blessed. What are some ways I can help to explain this a little better?
Some ways you can help to explain a little better that what? The keeping of a covenant shouldn't be a burden?
Can. Or under a new covenant.
Under a new covenant?
She's saying that people are saying Torah is a burden and can't be done, or they are under a new covenant.
All right.
I've heard that plenty of times.
Yeah, so let's travel. Go to the book of Jeremiah 31 and 31. Jeremiah 31 and 31.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was studying, and I already got it marked up.
Yeah, use that thing, babe. Jeremiah 31 and 31. This is for the sister. You want to read?
No problem, Prince.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31. Speaking of this new covenant.
Behold, the days come, saith the Elohim, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
So the Most High is saying the day is coming when I'm going to make a new covenant with the house of Judah, the house of Israel. Now you have to remember that at one time Judah and Israel was split. Judah was one kingdom, Israel was another kingdom. Judah was primarily 2 or 3 tribes, and Israel was a compilation of several tribes. One is the northern kingdom, and one is the southern kingdom. Judah was a southern kingdom, Israel was a northern kingdom. So when he says, I'll make a new covenant with the house of Judah and the house of Israel, he's saying the whole nation of Israel, all of us, whether you're a Judite, Gadite, Gershonite, or whatever you are. Okay? Read on, please.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith Elohim.
He says it's not going to be according to the old covenant that I made with them before, because we broke that covenant, right? What's that new covenant going to be? Read on.
But this
First, ask yourself, did he say he's going to put that new covenant in the book? I remember the conversation I had with that brother earlier too.
Go
Hey,
ahead. I gotta
you
get
blocking
my
the
attention.
you.
Okay, go ahead.
Give it. Hopefully this will work till you're done.
Okay, I gotta get my charger.
Okay, family. Hopefully that'll work. And if not, just bear with us, please, until she's back again. And I remember the conversation I had with that brother earlier too, so I can go over that a little bit later. Read on, please.
okay, chapter 33.
Tell us where you are.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm in Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 33. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel.
Now, did you hear that, family? He says, this shall be the covenant that I will make. Not this going to be a book or somebody going to fall from the sky and die for your sins. That's not what he's saying. He's saying this is going to be the new covenant. This right here, we're getting ready to read what that new covenant is. Read on, please.
And I will put my law in their inward parts.
He says, I'm going to put my laws in their inward parts. Not according to the covenant before where they had my law in a book. But I'm going to put my law in their inward parts. Not that it's going to be a different law. It's going to be my laws I'm going to put in their inward parts. So that nobody has to go around saying, hey, how you interpret the law, brother? What that mean? Show me the understanding of this. You're going to have it inside your heart, inside your spirit, inside your essence. And you're going to know what the law of the Most High requires of you. Read on, please. Let me give you an example of this law. Most people grow up knowing not to kill their mother. How do you know that? It's innately within you. That's how the Father's saying his law is going to be with us, in us, for us once again. Innately within us. Read on, please.
I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people.
He says, I will put my laws in their inward parts and write it where?
In their hearts.
No, in the New Testament.
In their hearts.
He gonna write it in the book and give it to him. That book gonna fall from the sky, and then we're gonna stand up and watch this man die on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's gonna put it in our inward parts, in our hearts. He gonna write it in our hearts. He ain't gonna write it on 2 stone tablets this time. This time he's gonna write it in our inward parts, and we're gonna be able to bear record of it.
Okay.
Read on.
And they shall teach no more every man they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Elohim, for they shall know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them.
So we're not going to have to run around no more telling people know the Creator. Because we're all going to know him, from the least of us to the greatest of him. He's going to put out his laws in our inward parts. And it's going to be our job to go out to the earth to teach the earth about the Almighty. Okay? But as far as us, we're going to have it instilled within us. That's why when the other scriptures where it says that them who are not Jews are going to take hold of your skirt, saying, lead me to your power,
Okay.
because it's our job to teach them. Read on, please.
And they shall know me from the least of them to the greatest of them, saith the Elohim. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Now, this part that we get ready to read right now is very important, because a lot of people say is that since we broke the covenant that we were cast off, that the Most High ain't dealing with us no more, that he don't even recognize us as a people anymore. Read that part here.
Thus saith the Elohim, which giveth the sun for the light by day, and the ordinances of the moon, and of the stars, and the light by night, which divideth the sea, when the waves therefore roar. The Lord of hosts, and his name
Is his name.
is his name. In these ordinances depart from me before. In these ordinances, if these ordinances depart from before me, saith the Elohim, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever.
So he's saying, baby, he's saying, if the sun, the moon, and the stars cease from existing in the heavens, then the seed of Israel shall no longer exist before me as a people. And we still see the sun, the moon, and the stars, so the children of Israel, by fact or default, has to still be here. So I pray that that answers the sister's question about this New Testament thing.
Yeah, she didn't say it, but okay. Yeah, I don't. There's no other questions, so I guess we can read.
All right. Me and the brother was having a conversation, and I'm going to have to prepare a serious lesson on this because this here is very important. The conversation we were having was about a woman being a slave. Women, y'all think y'all slaves?
No.
They say bold and proud. Now, I ain't no slave. I ain't nobody's slave.
That's right.
All right, let me read something for y'all. We're going to find out, so you might want to share and invite some of your friends in, because this is going to be very informative. It's not going to be that long, but it's going to be informative. Exodus, the 20th chapter. We're going to start at the 8th verse. Exodus 20 and 8. It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. Sheshet yamim ta'avod ve'asita ve'ekol melachtika. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Creator, thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. I'm going to read verse 10 again. 6 days shall thou labor, verse 9, and do all thy work. But the 7th day, which is Yom Shabbat, is the Sabbath of the Creator, your Elohim. In it, thou, you, me, the man, because he's talking to the man, shall not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle that is within thy gates. Where does he mention the wife?
Well, wouldn't the wife and him be one?
No.
So why would he have to mention the wife?
They're not one.
Why not?
Because you're not a man.
I know.
You
but-
can't even wear what I wear.
Right.
He says the woman should not wear that which pertained to a man. So if you can't, then why all of a sudden you want to say now, or a woman will want to say now, well, we won with our husband. No, it's not.
But what if it's not all of it? Like, it's not all of a sudden. Most women, if they, under the, if they have a strong mind, understand that they are one with their wife. It says the man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife. So, and you become one. You are one. She is under you. So if he's speaking to the man, most rules that, or all rules that he speaks to the man puts upon the woman as well.
Okay. It's not true. Because the law is given to man, period.
Right.
When the law was given, it says, speak to the children of Israel. In Hebrew, it says, speak to the sons of Israel.
Okay. What the sister says, I thought the wife would be included in anyone within his gates. He said within his gates.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
But it don't say anyone within our gates. Let me see what it says.
Yeah.
All right, hold on, sis. Because it's real specific. It's real specific about what it's
Thanks,
saying.
Ornette. That's one of my sisters. Told me to invite some sisters in.
All right.
Nor the stranger within thy gates. That's what it says. Your wife is not a stranger. Thank you, Unique, whatever your name is. Ornette. Thank you, sis. It says the stranger within thy gates, so it wouldn't apply to the wife, because the wife is definitely not a stranger. Sisters, it's something that it's a very important part that I'm going to bring out. It might appear to be one way in the beginning, but I would never allow it to be that way unless it's a fact. So walk with me now. That's not what it says. Now, brothers, let me ask you a question. Or sisters as well. Is your wife equal to a servant, a slave?
No.
We would say no, right?
Right.
You want to say no, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is your wife greater than a slave?
I would say
I
yes.
would, yeah.
You would say yes?
Because I'm a wife.
So, if your wife is greater than your slave, right?
Okay.
Why is your slave treated better than you treat your wife?
Well, I think, and this is only, from experience and being around, that a lot of people read the Tanakh and they read where how the Most High tells you how to treat a slave, but because he does not give you instruction on how to treat a wife, people take it upon themselves to identify or define how to treat their wife. But if they use wisdom, then they would treat their wives better than.
Problem is, a lot of people don't use wisdom.
Okay.
We're going to go to the 21st chapter of the book of Exodus.
Okay.
Do you know what happens to a slave? Because a lot of men have this problem. A lot of men beat their women. And a lot of men might be right here in this room today who put their hands and beat on their women. My point that I'm trying to make is that if your slave is not greater than your wife, why do you treat your slave better than you treat your wife? I do agree that a wife is a servant. I do. Absolutely believe that. She's your property. She belongs to you. She is a possession. But you're not to treat her as you would a slave. Right.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, in the law, what happens if you strike your slave and his tooth come out? Anybody know? Does anybody in the room know?
Well, I mean, nobody's answering right now.
What
Everybody's
happens? What?
Everybody's listening.
Okay. If you strike your slave and his tooth come out, you have to let that slave go for the sake of his tooth or his eye. You have to let him go for the sake of his tooth. But a lot of men today are so abusive that they treat their wives worse than they treat a slave. They'll smack her, they'll beat her, they physically abuse her, they mentally abuse her, and then they want her to remain. The law doesn't say anything like that. See, this is where the difference of a man and a male comes into play. if you're physically, mentally, emotionally abusive to your slave and he loses something, you got to let him go. But why is it that when you are physically, emotionally, mentally abusive to a woman, your wife, you just act like it's nothing and expect her to continue on in life with her duties and I would be afraid to eat what she fixed for me.
So I have a question.
I would be afraid to go to sleep in the house with her at night, thinking that she's going to open the door and let the boys in and just chop me up. But we got men. I'm the man. You got to do what I say. What? Bang. Go downstairs and fix me something to eat. Go run my bath water. Go wash my clothes. Clean my house. I don't see the logic in that. So the point I'm making is, brothers, if it's that bad, it's time to let her go.
Mm-hmm.
Give her a bill and send her on her way. Because if you do that to a slave and the slave runs away, there's no need for you to go get him, because wherever he's at, they don't have to turn him over to you.
Right.
That's the law. So how much more is it a wife if a wife runs away? Is she less than a slave? If a wife runs from an abusive relationship, really runs, not because she want to freak another man,
Right.
but because she's fearful for her life, because the man that she trusted with her life has abused her. So she runs, she packs her bags, and she runs to an Israelite family. If she's better than a slave, the law says if a slave comes to you and he runs to you, you can give him sanctuary from his master.
Right.
So if the wife is a slave or is a servant and she runs, she has sanctuary wherever she runs. And you don't have to turn her over.
So what do you think?
A slave is a man's property that belongs to him. Well, so does his wife. So does his children. They all belong to him. But if that wife runs, and she runs to another Israelite brother, another Israelite, and I'm not talking about no freaky stuff.
Right.
I'm not talking about they cheating, they running around, and she's being disrespectful in her home. She got a lot of mouth in her home. I'm not talking about a man trying to discipline his wife. I'm talking about a man that's really abusing his wife, that she has to run for her life. You don't go and tell, well, that's your wife, man. I can't do nothing about that, because there's laws protecting her. That's why you were so much on the defense, Prince. I ain't no slave. But yeah, you are. You are. You're a servant to that man. But that man has rules and regulations that he has to treat you by. And we're going to read a little bit more in this 21st chapter in some of those rules and regulations that man has to treat that woman by. That's why you're not mentioned there, because you are mentioned there when it says his servant wife, his handmaiden, a bondmaiden. That's a servant wife. Did you want to ask a question before we continue?
Yeah, I did. So you was just saying how when a woman runs for sanctuary. So when a woman does run for sanctuary and then she goes to certain people for that sanctuary and asks for protection or asks to be for help in attaining her bill, and she's denied and basically turned back over to this man, what is, where does she, what is
She has to be obedient, and she is to return. Doesn't mean that she's right. You understand what I'm saying to you? Everybody, you just can't use the law in your favor when you want it to be in your favor. You might be out of alignment. But if she's right, if she is doing everything she can and this man is just psychological, chances are she won't be returned back to him. Because people will know of him, and the evidence that she presents to the people who are holding the hearing, if they're creator-fearing men and women, they will make the right, proper judgment. But if she's right before the Almighty, because that's what's most important, is that she has to be on the right grounds, on solid grounds with the great king. And if she is, he's going to make sure that she's protected and looked after. He will provide. All right?
Okay.
This is where you have to learn to trust in the Creator.
Okay.
Is there any questions there?
Let's see. No, that brother did say he's driving, so he'll have more questions in a few.
Very well.
But oh wait, Sister Anit says, Akoti Anit says, what about in the situation where he's saying that she wasn't a virgin when he married her, and it's found to be not true?
So does that mean that she was a virgin?
Right, but he's saying that she wasn't.
So how can that be proven? Because that's going to be a very difficult situation to prove. In the ancient days, they used the bed sheets to verify whether she was a virgin or not.
Mm-hmm.
In the modern days, I don't know of them using bed sheets.
Oh, what she just says doesn't say that he can never put her away. What
No,
about the
no,
situation where
not
he's
because.
saying that
No,
she
no.
wasn't?
Let's clear this up. If I think what she's saying is what I think she's saying, if she was a virgin and a man took her and made her his wife, and then she got out of order, he can never put her away. That's not law. That's not what the law says.
Mm-hmm.
The law says if he entices her and he be found with her,
Right.
then the father shall lay upon him a price, and then he can never put her away. Just because she's a virgin and they get together doesn't mean that he cannot put her away. Because most of the women in those days were virgins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's not what it means. You can't just be a virgin and take a man and then act any old kind of way you want to act. That's unlawful, unrighteous. You still have to uphold a certain criteria, a certain standard, a certain behavior in your household as a wife. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Can you slide a little closer? Just so that they can hear you well. Go ahead.
We're going to start at Exodus.
We're going to start at Exodus, the 21st chapter, verse 1.
Now these are the judgments which thou set before them.
Which thou shalt set?
Which thou shalt set before them.
You do see that, right?
Yes,
Shall?
yes, sir.
Okay, you with me, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the seventh he shall go out free for nothing.
So if you buy a Hebrew servant, for 6 years he shall serve you, but in the 7th year he's supposed to go out for free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that servant says, well, no, I love my master, I don't want to go anywhere, then there's a process that he has to go through, or she has to go through. Read on, please.
If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him.
If he was married, when he became a servant, then his wife leaves with him. But if he came in by himself and you gave him a wife, that wife is still your property because he's a servant.
Mm.
Those children produced from that marriage is still your property because he's a servant.
Mm.
You understand?
Servants. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You gave him a woman to produce children. It's not even really like you gave him a wife because he's not taking care of her.
Right.
You're taking care of her. You're taking care of the children. You're taking care of him. Read on, please.
Mm-hmm.
And if his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be the master's, and he shall go out by himself.
You understand that?
Yes.
You read? Read on, please.
And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free.
I will not go out free. I love this woman that you give to me, and I love the children that we have produced, and I want us to be a family. So I'm not going out for free. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm staying. Watch what needs to take place in order to make this lawful. Read on.
Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
How long?
Forever.
Now, the important part was that he shall bring him before the judges. Why was that necessary?
So that it could be
Witness.
witnessed.
Witnesses. That's right. So that the judges can judge this matter and sanction it. By bringing in the judges, you cause the spirit to be the overseer. You see, Deuteronomy the 17th chapter, you'll speak about any matter that rise too hard, you bring before the judges. That invokes the spirit or the presence of the Creator at that time.
Okay.
So they had to bear record before the Almighty that this is what this man has decided to do. So that's what's done. So now if he says, I don't want to go out, you take an awl and you put it through his ear. You're branding him. Now people who see him will know he is your property for life. Now, can that happen in today's time?
I wouldn't
It
think
can,
so.
but
It can.
people won't
It
do
can.
It can absolutely.
Wow.
Men can serve men. And they'll be Hebrew men. But the pride and the arrogance of the average man today prohibits him from giving himself to another man. A lot of men who may not be as fortunate to take on the responsibilities of a family can give himself into servitude to another brother that he has more trust in to rule over his life. This is some real stuff. And this can happen even today. You follow me?
Okay.
Read on, please.
And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do, if she please not her master, who have betrothed her to himself.
Now this man sold his daughter to be a maid servant. What did the book in Genesis, in Exodus, just Exodus 20 and 10, what did it say? Let's see. Y'all got me thinking in a strange way right now. 20 and 10. Nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maid servant. What did I say maid servant was?
Your wife.
Your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now this man sells his daughter to be a what?
Maidservant.
Maidservant.
Is that a wife?
Yes.
Can be, but it can go both ways.
It sure could, couldn't it? But let's read on a little bit more and see exactly what it is.
Okay.
Read on, please.
All right.
Tell us where you are.
I'm looking at it right now because I turned the page with you. Look at it right now. I believe we're
Seven.
Okay, 7.
Exodus
chapter-
21 and 7.
Okay. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant,
What I say is a wife.
Okay.
she shall not go out as the men servants do, if she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he not let her be redeemed.
If she pleases not her master, who had betrothed her unto himself. Betrothal is what? An engagement.
Okay.
Engagement for what? For the purpose of wifehood.
Mm-hmm. The assistant has a question.
Is it about this?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She said, so are you saying a wife and a maidservant is the same?
Absolutely. She must not have followed. You might have to go back and
No,
watch.
she's been watching it. This
Yeah,
is the one who
because that's the point that I'm trying to make in this whole subject,
Mm-hmm.
that the wife is supposed to be entitled to certain privileges above a slave, a regular slave.
Mm-hmm.
Although her title will still be servant, she's above. Even the father says she can't go out like a regular man servant goes out.
Right.
She has to go out with a certain entitlement. Certain things should be given and done to her that sets her apart from a manservant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
But even though in the beginning, when Adam and Eve came, the Most High didn't say she was a maidservant. He said she was your helpmate. Like,
What's a helpmate?
a helpmate. Like,
What's a helpmate?
you assist. You are part. You're
Right.
partners.
What does a slave do?
Okay.
What do
Assist.
slaves do? Honest, that's right.
Right.
That's what
I
they
guess,
do.
I guess it's the terminology. Okay, this
The
is the thing.
problem
This
is
is
we
the
are
thing.
westernized,
But
and the Western man has took the word slave and made it into something horrible.
But more of, I think, the word, when you use the word slave versus servant, there it what you said earlier, words resonate, vibrations.
Right.
So when you use that slave word, it resonates vibrations of like captivity or
Rejection,
Yes, because-
hatred. I know this.
Yes. So that's
that's why I'm doing it.
right. But
Because I
also-
want that to stir up inside of you. I want you to see the difference. And I need men who misuse and abuse these women
Mm-hmm.
to see where I'm coming from. So I'm
Right.
using the words that I'm using intentionally to excite some anger or frustration or hostility
curiosity.
inside you, right?
Okay.
To make you say, well, what are you talking about? He going this. I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I did that intentionally.
Alrighty.
All right?
Okay.
So, we know how to get soft and butter it up, but you're right.
Right.
Slave girl.
What?
See how it made her feel? See how it made her feel? It made her feel a certain type of way.
I'm not to log
But
off
if I said,
everybody.
if I said serving girl, serving is a little bit more pleasing. It doesn't excite as much inside of you.
We'll be back in a moment.
I'm here now for the purpose of exciting our people to search this out so they'll listen
Okay.
with a more tentative ear.
Okay.
Okay? So that's what we're doing. I understand.
We understand.
I'm thankful that I have a woman that can catch that type of stuff.
Okay.
All right? Let's start back at 7, please.
Start back at 7. We're in-
Exodus 21 and 7.
And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as men servants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her.
Now, what that's saying is, he is to let her be redeemed. Redeemed means something else, or the master or her father can buy her back.
Okay.
But he cannot sell her to another nation because she's Hebrew. She can sell them to another Hebrew, but she can't sell her to another nation. This is the way of bringing her, redeeming her. But she wasn't pleasing to him. He may not have given her the proper opportunity to be pleasing to him. However it goes, she's being released from his care. Okay? Read on, please.
And if he had betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters.
So if this man bought her, paid money for her as a servant, but yet I want her to marry my son, then he got to deal with her after the manner of a daughter and no longer after the manner of a slave. You see how when he takes a servant wife, she elevates. She's still a servant, but she's elevated. She's no longer treated as a regular servant any longer. Something special. Her office takes on a different position. You see what I'm saying? Now this man purchased her as a wife for his son. He can't deal with her as a slave no more. How does he have to deal with her? As a daughter. Now how do you treat your daughter? She gets special privileges, right? See, we're escalating this from servitude to wifely duties to wifely or womanly duties now. Then back down to a daughter. The father's covering this on a dynamic scale all the way around the board, the duties of a woman. Mm-hmm. Read on, please.
And if he take another wife, her food.
Stop for a second. Now, if he took this girl and betrothed her to himself, if he took this female servant, maid servant, and betrothed her to himself, and she wasn't pleasing to him, because we're still talking about the stuff about up the top where she wasn't pleasing to him, he might decide, I want to take another wife. Now, if he takes another wife, the Creator never says that this is not permissible. He doesn't say the man cannot take another wife. He's actually giving laws for a man that wants more than one woman. How he is to treat the second woman. But pay close attention to this, because this is going to mean a lot.
Okay.
If he take another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish.
If he takes a second wife because the first wife wasn't as pleasing to him as he wanted her to be, her food, her raiment, and his duties of marriage, her wife, his sexual intercourse, could not cease. So now what does this show us? This shows us the responsibilities of a man to a woman. Her food, her clothing, her sexual rights, all these things was supposed to be a part of that marriage commitment when the two came together. He was supposed to supply all of her needs, whatever she needed. This is why Temple Kifarim, we teach that the wife doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. That man must work, but the wife doesn't have to. She can stay home and rely off of you. Her job is to run that family, run that household, supply the needs of that family. And this goes deep because for real, you are her God in so many words. You understand? A lot of people might throw a little confusion in that and doesn't understand what I'm saying to you. Your husband have the ability. If you make a vow to the Creator as a married woman or as a daughter, you make a vow to the Creator and you promise the Most High something in secret. The moment that your husband hears this, he can disannul your vow. He can go between you and the Creator and say, oh, Creator, that don't stand. I know what she said. Creator, I understand that, but that don't stand. Relinquish her of that vow. And the Most High will relinquish her of that vow. And this is law. So when I say he's a God to you, this is the type of essence of what I mean. Not that you pray to him. You pray to nobody but the Almighty. You don't worship him in that aspect, but like you do the Almighty. There's only one power that's deserving of that. But he's a God to you in the essence of over spiritual and physical matters, he has dominance. He has the ability to do things to you spiritually and physically that others don't have any idea of what it's about. The other person who has that ability is if you're not married, then your father has that ability over you. Okay?
Kotioni asks, where does it say that you can have more than one wife?
Well, that's just one place right there. We're reading one place right here. It says if he takes him another wife,
that's what it says.
the first wife's duties and responsibilities cannot cease. And if he fails to do those responsibilities, she's able to go out for free. So that will show you that he has two wives right there.
Another sister asked, the brother came back. He has questions, but he said he'll wait. The sister says, are you saying that a man can just take another wife because he feels a need isn't being met? Couldn't he just seek and counsel his wife to meet all his needs? Oh, she wants to know what scripture are we in. That's
Exodus
21.
Exodus
10 right now.
Yeah, Exodus 21 and 10. My sister, your question only applies to the role or duty of a wise man. A man which is spiritually guided will do all those things that you just said. He would talk to his wife. He would try to uplift her. He would try to motivate her to give him the things that he needs to fulfill that station in life that he needs fulfilled. A wise man would do that. The answer to your question is no, he doesn't have to do it. But if the brother's wise, that would be the best thing for him to do before taking another wife. He should talk to the first wife. He should cause her to try. He would first make her aware of the situations and the problems that's going on within the household or the marriage that he feels she's failing at. Now, after several attempts or she refuses, then he has to take matters a different way and do what he sees best. But me, I believe that a man with wisdom should approach that and do what the sister suggested. But a lot of men are not full of wisdom. A lot of men just bogart and force the women to take a sister wife and then try to force them to get along. And when it doesn't work, he's mad, he's beating on people, he's putting people out, he's not able to elevate in his life like he should. You know, more should be better. More shouldn't be more of a burden. It should make life easier and simpler and allow you to excel in a greater, higher capacity and level. But because most of us do it wrong, the more you have, the more problems you create. When you only had one, she ain't had nobody to fight. Now you got two, and because you're out of order or out of a proper alignment, then they're out of order. But if you did it right from the beginnings, then there will be peace in your home. And you can have either one that's handling her business or multiple that's handling their business.
Okay.
But when you're a poor example of a man, you shouldn't even think about having one wife until you first get those things that we discussed earlier in proper alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that thing of a developing from childhood to adolescence to manhood, then you're capable, you should be capable of multiple nashim. Prior to that, you're not going to be capable. You'll be going for, people be looking at you one year, looking at you the next year, and then looking at you the year after that, and you done had about 3, 4, 5 different wives. And each time you have one, you talk about how good and how great they are. Read on, please. Are we done with the questions?
Here for them, I believe.
Tell us where you are, please.
We're at Exodus chapter 21. I'm going to begin at verse 11. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall he go out free without money.
And if he doesn't do these 3 things to her, she should go out for free without payment. Means you ain't got to pay him back.
He that saith,
do these 3 things to her. I'm trying to go out for free without payment. Means you ain't got to pay him back. I'm just trying to let people know we online, that we sharing.
I tagged you.
Oh, you tagged me?
Yes, sir.
You just a bomb.
Thank
You are so lovely in so many ways.
Humbly, Toda.
I don't know what I'd do without this lady right now.
Toda,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Art.
And we're going to start again at verse 12. He that saith a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie, not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee.
Okay, that will be the end of that portion. We basically wanted to cover the portion now. If this man did not provide the food, clothing, and sexual conjugal rights to this woman was able to go away for free, which means that she was given a bill of divorcement, nothing, and no fees was being charged, or no price or redemption price had to be paid for her, because he again misused her. He violated her rights as a wife. You understand? That's the sanctity of having a wife. Where a lot of men, we bypass that. We don't see how special obtaining a wife is. You know? And we oftentimes abuse our women, fully not understanding our responsibilities to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Sister Anit says, Akoti Anit says, so all 3 things have to not be given. Like all 3.
That's what the law says.
Okay.
If he doesn't do all of the 3 of these things, then she should go out for free. Now, sis, I don't want you using this as somebody cutting up and ain't doing right. I believe her, but what I want her to understand, and not just for her, but other people who might be listening.
Right.
As a wife, you are to do your very best to serve your husband.
Okay.
Period. No exceptions. If he's curlish or nibalish, foolish, and doesn't appreciate and doesn't reciprocate what you give to him back to you, then the Most High makes provisions where you will be redeemed.
Okay.
You follow me?
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not so far.
No other questions?
Not for me.
Oh, well, I do. I mean, I'm always asking this question. Well, not always asking this, but I always think about this because we have leadership and we have, in place certain judgment. When women do, if a woman does go to a leader or leadership and that leadership doesn't believe her that this is happening or that these three things are not taking place, then what is the woman to do at that point? You know what I mean? Because it's like, if a woman is experiencing this, she goes to a judge, she goes to a leader, and they was like, well, we can't prove that that's happening, and the woman,
she should call for a hearing.
Mm-hmm.
She should call for a hearing where you have a panel with at least 3 judges, and she should lay out her case before the judges,
Okay.
and the judges shall provide over that case. Creator willing, she has the opportunity, and she'll be victorious in this man not producing what he's supposed to produce for her in her life.
Okay.
But she, as I stress, she has to make sure she's on point as well.
Okay.
You know?
So would that be the same if a woman is being abused?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We covered that earlier.
I know, but I think I asked the question, but I don't recall getting that answer that you just gave me about if the leadership doesn't do anything about it, or a particular leader, then she should call for a hearing and ask for 3 judges.
At least 3.
At least 3.
Minimum.
Okay.
Just like with any other matter that's more so to the extreme.
Okay.
And she has to abide by the outcome of that ruling.
Okay.
So whatever it is, she has to abide by it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right. And then you would try to look for judgment that's not going to be biased. So that's where the establishment of Beit Dins would come into play, correct?
It could.
Could. Okay.
It could.
All right.
Are there any other questions?
Oh, she said, what if, I'm sorry. She said, what if the two never had sex? Like he never went into her. So how does...
Tell the sister, ask her if she want to get put on that thing where she can state her case, because she has a whole lot of scenario that needs to be put in place.
Would
Or
you
she
like to
can
go
type
live
it.
or Neat?
Or she can type it.
Would you like to go live on this conversation
Just so she can state everything in her...
in her words?
Yeah, because it's a lot to it.
Okay. Hold on, let me see if I can just do it. I don't know how to bring anybody live, so I don't know if I could do it. Hold on.
I think it's the invite
I got
button.
it.
Okay. Because you seem like she has a whole scenario.
I don't know if she's going to accept it. Oh, she's not. Shalom, Ronit. Yes. Hey.
Shalom, sis.
Shalom.
I suggested... Shabbat Shalom. I suggested she brought you in because you seem to have a whole scenario, and I know it's hard sometimes to type what you really want to say when you're trying to type it. Okay, so we brought you in so you can actually speak your piece and say what it is that you have to say.
I was saying,
Go ahead.
when the two got married, and the man never wanted to have sex with her again.
Oh, did they ever have sex? They have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And they still married?
And they're still married, yes.
And how long have they been married?
Let's say they were married for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what's the problem?
And let's say they never had sex in 6 years.
Then it might be a reason. But if that man is still married to her and he's not having sex with her, it must be something special about that man. Because most men only want women for sex. And if the sex is not good, or they are not capable of doing it, but yet he's still holding on to her, then either he has a problem that he's not telling her about, he cares that much about her, he don't want to let her go, or he's just a good man. I mean, he might not be able to have sex with her. Is he cheating? Does she know?
Possibly.
So,
Let's say the woman elevates his life in a certain type of manner. So that would be the reason why he wouldn't want to let her go. But for her,
She's
No.
not. Yeah, she's not
Being
getting
married to a
fired.
man.
She's stuck.
Right.
She's stuck. And I just hate to put it just that simple because it's a sad situation, but she's stuck. If she's able to communicate with him, maybe she should tell him how unhappy she is. You know? And if he's really an honest man and he knows that she's unhappy, oh, wait a minute. Do you know if this brother's a Hebrew?
He is a Hebrew.
He's living his life as a Hebrew?
Okay.
Then he's bound by law to have sex with that girl.
Yes. Gang.
That's right.
Yeah, he's bound by law. He don't have to do it all the time, but he's required by law. We just read that today.
No, but she was saying like that was her question. Like if it's one thing that's not being done, can she get a divorce?
No.
But so all three things have to not be done for her to be able to get a divorce.
Yes.
But if he's doing two or one and not two, so basically she's trying to make sure like the one thing isn't grounds for it, but he's obligated
to do all
to
three.
give her conjugal rights.
Let me ask. What my wife has stated, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now he is providing a home. He is providing the necessary things to maintain the home and the family.
Correct.
It's just that the female is not being able to be sexually pleased.
Correct. Anything that.
Then he's in violation of the law. Now, if it's something wrong with the female that he's displeased with, then he should speak to her about it. But the sister does have grounds to have a hearing.
But not necessarily a divorce.
Not for divorce, no.
But
counseling.
because he's breaking part of the
He's
law.
violating the laws of the Almighty.
Okay.
The Most High says in the law, just the one that we read today, that these three things shall not cease. And conjugal rights or sexual activity is one of those things.
But is that just only in polygyny, or is that is that
That's
across
period.
the board? Okay, that's just for clarity.
Does he have more than one wife?
No.
Wow.
Wow.
And are you sure that in their situation that he's actually cheating or sleeping with other women?
No.
Oh, so she's not sure. Okay.
No.
I would sit down and have a talk because is he aggressive? Is he verbally, physically abusive?
Emotionally and mentally.
I guess they would have to elaborate on that emotionally and mentally because what might be emotionally? Excuse me?
More words than anything.
Verbal abuse.
Verbal abuse.
So it's verbal abuse. Okay, see, sometimes a man can be excited to verbal abuse because you got a mouthy woman. And if she's guilty, then she can't call that abuse. If she's a mouthy woman, she can't say that he's abusive verbally because she's provoking that type of behavior.
Okay.
But if she's a humble woman, a meek woman, as an Israelite sister should be, displaying the perfect character of righteousness as a woman, and he's speaking disrespectful to her, then yes, he's verbally abusive. But if she's out there provoking it, then he's not verbally abusive. If she's doing and he's doing what I explained earlier, they're both trying to show who has dominance in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Both
never
out
good.
of order.
Yeah, they're both out of order.
But I guess if a woman is being verbally abused, and she is that meek, humble spirit.
Then that's reasons to bring it up, to have a counsel, a hearing.
Okay.
And to try to get that brother spoken to. But all I say is that your advice to that sister would be for her to be the very best wife that she can possibly be. You know, look over her own life, her own behavior, and see where men have done her wrong in her life to cause her to be so rebellious toward a man.
If that's what she's doing.
I'm sure that's what she's doing, based on the words that she has spoken today. There's a reason why women act the way that they act. And most women act that way because they have been abused. In one way or another, they have ran into men that has been dysfunctional with them and treated them roughly. And that's what caused them to retaliate the way that they do. But if this brother here is really moving in a righteous spirit, and this sister is the one causing the problems, and then he's responding back to her based on the aggression or attitude that she has, she needs to check herself, because she out of order. She can't be calling blessings from the Creator and then acting a fool with her husband. As I said earlier, her husband is her God. And she's supposed to treat him as such. You know?
Okay.
So sis, and even if oftentimes what happens is, like we're hearing, we only hear your side of the story from whoever it is they told you. So we really getting like second and third hand information. Unless we have both parties present at a hearing to hear both sides of the situation, then no one can accurately judge the situation.
Okay.
Unless they have both parties present to have a hearing.
Right.
Because you know everybody gonna say things in their favor, make themselves look good. That's just human nature. All right, but you have some very good questions, and I hope that someone listening can get some information from this that can help to change their lives and better their lives. And if anybody listening want to talk later, they can always inbox me, and on a more private level, and we can always have those discussions to try to bring some clarity to situations in lives that needs to be discussed. All right, sis? Did you have any other questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Shalom.
Hey, Shalom says,
Shalom.
Shalom.
okay.
Are there any other questions on there?
No. Not right now.
Do you have any other questions?
No, sir.
Amy, you have any other questions, Amy?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So we did our readings, and we covered the book of, first we started in Exodus 20 and 10, or 20 and 7, all the way down to 10, 20 and 8 down to 10, and then we did our readings in Exodus 21, all the way down to 13. For those of you who wasn't a part of this, you might want to go back and watch the lesson and how we accelerated gradually to the point where we came up with the understanding that a wife is a servant, a female servant,
Okay.
a maid servant. But with that, she's to be treated a certain way.
Okay.
But if a wife doesn't have a certain amount of respect for herself,
She's not going to respect
she
her husband.
can't properly respect her husband. You know? So we have to understand our roles and our duties and our responsibilities to life and our service to the Creator. Another jewel I want to drop on you, sisters. You can't properly serve the Creator if you're not properly serving your husband. You will be out of alignment with that.
That's true.
Because the first duty of the woman given by the Almighty is what?
Obey him.
Obey her husband.
That's right. He shall rule
He
over
shall
you.
rule over.
That's right. That's the first duty. So if you're a disrespectful,
Female.
some people just like drama. You
I
know?
don't think it's they like it. It's just that that's what they're used to. Remember last week you spoke about how when you grow up as a young male and the image that you see is what you portray. And
Yes.
so a lot of times, especially here in America, what we see as women or how we, you know, like our mothers or our aunties, our grandmothers, if they rah-rah, then that's what we grow up to be as rah-rah. If they're meek or disciplined or if they're just strong-willed, we, you know, we gather those things. We, as if you're a wise daughter, you will take the good that you see and you will progress on that. But a lot of times we get comfortable in that lower state and we stay there. And so when we become somebody's wife, you know, whether he's elevated or not, we don't elevate ourselves because we haven't been taught to elevate ourselves. We're just mimicking what society is showing us, because that's what they pretty much show everybody on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're mimicking what, you know, we were brought up under.
Yeah,
And it
absolutely
takes a lot for a woman to, or even a person, period, man or woman,
I totally
to
agree.
walk away from that and become something better.
I totally agree. You have had some wise teachers.
Thank you. Yeah. My mother was great.
Oh yeah, wise woman.
Yes.
All right. Are there any other questions?
No.
We're gonna start a new subject.
Well, one sister did say she wished one day you could just answer relationship questions.
We could do that now.
Okay.
We could do that now. It's the Shabbat.
It's the Shabbat.
The
Okay, then.
people used to ask me, why you post so many relationship posts? It's because I understand that in order for us to really serve the Creator and return back to our rightful state, we got to get our households in order first.
Okay.
We got to go to the foundation to correct that problem before we can start growing and building in other directions.
Okay.
Without the foundation in place, we in trouble.
Okay.
So she got some questions, she asked those questions and we'll address them now. We can deal with them now.
Okay.
She want to go live?
Sis, you can let me know if you want to go live, Sister Koti Itia. But I wanted to kind of speak on what we were just, because I know you had a conversation, or when, you know, our last Q&A was about the men's role. And
hold on a second. Can these videos be so long they got to stop or what?
on Facebook, it